I want to talk about the rage monster. The rage monster is that fight response that comes out when we're triggered. It destroys the safety that our partner feels, the safety that our kids feel, and often it fills us with shame and self doubt and guilt and all those feelings after it passes. This is a topic near and dear to my heart because I experience the rage monster quite frequently, and I know what it feels like, and I know the damaging effects it can have on our relationships. The point of this video is not to help you suppress the rage monster or your anger in general. It's to help you learn how to move through a triggered moment so you can get to the other side and still work on the issue, but without all the negative consequences that the rage monster brings. So the rage monster, of course, is anger, and it looks different for women and men. We have very different brain responses to anger. Women have a larger suppression region in their brain. And so for women, at least for most of the month, for most of us, it's easier to suppress anger. For men, even though we might feel angry for the same number of minutes a day, a study found, men are 20 times more likely to show that anger in some type of aggressive display. And so what's really important to recognize is that for a woman, if you even raise your voice, if you're a man and you even raise your voice, for us, that is incredibly scary. And we will do anything we can to protect ourselves and to protect our kids. And it will be very difficult for us to understand why you keep doing that. And the thing is that for men, raising your voice is not really a huge deal. A lot of men raise their voices regularly with their friends, with other men, and they don't see a problem with it because it doesn't feel as scary to them as it feels to a woman. So they might not understand how even just a slight change in the tone of their voice activates our sense of fight, flight, or freeze. Now, for women, we may not get as aggressive as quickly, but I know a whole lot of women who their rage monster is, super quick to come out. And what they end up doing is, they might yell or they might use really cutting words. Now, in your romantic relationship, this can feel so devastating to your partner. Your partner might respond with anger themselves. Maybe it's a situation where you're both really angry and fighting with each other, or maybe one of you has a fight response, which is who I'm talking to, and the other one has like a freeze response or a flee response. Our fight, flight, or freeze responses come in sequences. And so for some of us, we are frozen for a while, and then maybe we'll flee and we'll never really get to the fight unless it gets really, 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 like we get really triggered. For some of us, we'll fight first, and then when that doesn't work, we'll freeze, and then we'll flee. So if you think about the last time you got into an argument or a disagreement or some kind of a disconnect with your partner, you might be able to discern like what are your steps? Do you freeze first? Do you flee? Do you fight? If you're a fighter, this can be your greatest challenge, is to not fight in that moment. Now, here's the thing. We get angry for a reason. Usually it's because something has happened that is not fair and that we never want to happen again. Often it's not the thing itself that's happened that angers us. It's our story that we tell ourselves about why it happened. It's because you don't care about me. It's because you don't appreciate me. It's because you don't respect me, right? So let's think about the last time you got into a disagreement and the rage monster came out. I want you to go back and identify, like, what was the thought that I had that created the trigger? It was probably something where you were taking it personally, right? It's probably something like, by doing this action, you show me that you don't care about me. You show me that you don't respect me. You show me that you don't appreciate me. And so in an effort to try to get our needs met, in an effort to try to get the appreciation, to try to make sure that we never feel this way again, our rage monster comes out and it cuts the other person down. When our rage monster comes out, when our anger is expressed, here's the problem. The point that our anger is trying to make is, I don't ever want you to do this to me again, and I need you to understand why this was so impactful to me. I need you to understand my experience. That's what we want. Through doing this, we're actually hoping to bring that person closer. It doesn't make any sense to the person on the receiving end because they think, if you want to bring me closer, just be nice. But our fight response tells us, if I don't fix this right now, I'm never going to feel good again. Something like that, right? Something pretty dramatic. That's how we feel in the moment. So by fighting with our partner, we're actually trying to bring them closer and get our needs met. Now, the problem is that when we start, whatever it is, raising our voice, being sarcastic, being really mean, or blaming them for stuff, diminishing them in whatever way we do, their defenses are going to come right up. They're going to immediately, their shield is going to come up. And when our shield is up, we can't hear what our partner's saying. So everything that happens, once the rage monster is out, all those things that you're trying to get your partner to understand, it's not actually going to be processed by your partner because their defenses are up. They're now in fight, flight, or freeze. They're doing whatever their triggered response is. And it's basically just like a lot of wasted energy. And it's super harmful and damaging to our relationship. I don't say this to instill shame in you, or to activate shame in you. That is not at all the point of that. But I do think it's really important to recognize that there are damaging effects to expressing our anger when we're triggered. And we need to figure out a way to self-soothe in that moment or be soothed by our partner. We need to find a way to also prepare ourselves so that we can ride the triggered wave. That's all we got to do. We got to ride that wave, okay? When you get triggered, what is the first clue that your body gives you that you're starting to get activated? Maybe it's like your heart rate gets faster. Maybe it's you start to get like flushed, or your palms get clammy. Maybe your thoughts start to run wild with like, he doesn't appreciate me. She doesn't actually love me. He doesn't respect me. Whatever it is, your thoughts start to go wild and you can feel yourself tensing up, right? That's energy in your body. Our fight response will tell us that the only way to feel better is to spew it out. Tell them what they did wrong. Make them understand. Then they'll understand and they'll apologize and they'll give you a big hug and they'll give you the love that you want and it'll all be good, right? That's what our fight response tells us. It's like, you have to say this right now, and you have to be insistent, and you have to be loud, and you have to get in their face. And if they don't respond well to the first time that you say it, maybe you're trying to you're triggered, but you're trying to say it in like a gentle way, and they don't respond well. Oh man, like the next time you're going to say it even louder, you're going to say it even more assertively or aggressively, because your fight response is telling you this is the way to save your relationship. So what you need is a pattern interrupter. Now, rest assured, this does not mean that the issue is going to be swept under the rug, right? That's one of our fight response's biggest fears, is that I'm not going to say anything right now, and it's going to keep happening, and I'm never going to get my needs met, and everything's just going to go to hell, right? That's what our fight response tells us. No, we can find another way to talk about this when we're more level. But right now, we can't talk about this. Right now, if we try talking about this, it's going to end not well. So we need a pattern interrupter. The Gottmans, John and Julie Gottman, they've done 40 plus years of marital research. They have done studies where they got couples to come together and talk. Like one couple would come into a room and talk about their most contentious issue. Of course, they would start to get triggered. And at a certain point in the study, when they were in that triggered state, the researchers would come in and tell them, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Our equipment has broken down. We need you to just step out into the waiting room, sit on opposite sides of the room, read a magazine, relax a little. We'll let you know when our system is back up and running. So they'd send them into the waiting room for like 20, 30 minutes. And when they brought them back into the research chamber and they started talking about the same issue, it was like they'd had a personality transplant. Like these were not the same people. They were able to talk about it in a calm way. They were able to see things from their partner's perspective. The rage monster tells you that you will never resolve this if you don't say something right now. And you need a pattern interrupter so that you can give yourself a mental break so that eventually you can come back and discuss it. The pattern interrupter could be as simple as, hold on a second, I'm getting really worked up. I need a minute. Take some deep breaths. Keep doing what you're doing. So like the other day, the rage monster hit just out of nowhere, right here, right? It just, bam. And I knew it. I knew that I was getting triggered. And so I was washing dishes and my husband had said something that like activated me. And normally I would have said something back right away. And this time I was like, no, this is the rage monster. I am going to keep washing dishes. It's okay. We will talk about this. We will figure it out. What you tell yourself in that moment is really important, right? Tell yourself something that's going to soothe you, that's going to tell you, yeah, I'm not going to forget about this issue. It is going to get talked about, but not right now. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't allow yourself to get sucked in. And when you feel the shift in your body, you know that, okay, I've reached a new level. I'm back down. Now I can soothe myself even more and maybe even talk about it. You'll know that shift. Do you know the shift I'm talking about? It's like you go from being like super worked up and really triggered and really rigid. And then at a certain point, like you're thinking about something else maybe, or like maybe something grabs your attention. And a little while later, maybe 10, 20 minutes later, you realize like, what was I even upset about? Like, why did I get so worked up about that? That doesn't make any sense. That's the shift. So once that shift has hit, then you know, okay, the rage monster has passed. It doesn't mean that I should go full steam and start talking about this right now, but it means I have a better chance of being able to see my partner's perspective if we do talk right now. So what I would suggest that you do is firstly work on that pattern interrupter. If you want, you can just picture me telling you, it's okay that you feel this way. It's totally normal. It's totally natural. And it's okay to not say anything. Just take some deep breaths. You will talk about this later. We will figure it out. Whatever your pattern interrupter ends up being, it could be like for some people, they'll just distract themselves. Like they'll, I don't know if you've heard that thing about, interacting with your five senses. So maybe you look around the room, see 5 things that you can see and kind of name them. Then try to, what can you smell, right? Name a couple of things or one thing that you can smell. What do you taste in your mouth, right? Like, so you activate all your senses. What are you hearing? And then you can even like touch, like what can you feel? So all you're doing is you're just distracting yourself. And some people think like, oh, you shouldn't distract yourself. You should feel your feelings. Fine, great. Yes, do feel your feelings. But when it comes to anger, you don't want to entertain that feeling for long because anger is self-reinforcing. The angrier you feel, the angrier you feel. So if you allow yourself to feel that feeling and really like dive into it, I don't think that's going to do much good for you. And I don't think it's going to do much good for your relationships. One of the pattern interrupters that I tried that was really effective, although very difficult to do, I got from a book, How Not to Hate Your Husband. One of their couples counselors had told them, in this moment, like your anger is more important than your kid's sense of safety or something. And so I would tell myself, in this moment, my anger is more important than my kid's sense of safety. And then I would think, no, of course it's not more important than my kid's sense of safety. And that helped me for a while. You will find, if you're committed to this, you will find something that works for you. But interrupt that pattern. And then the other thing that you can put in place that can be really, really helpful is setting aside a time each week. The Gottmans call it the State of the Union, setting aside a time each week or every other week to talk about your relationship, the good and the not so good, things that are going great, things that we could work on. So what you can do is when you're feeling that rage monster, you can first try to pattern interrupt, and then write down, like, actually, I would say first even write down and then pattern interrupt. Whatever you want to do, you decide, experiment. Write down what the issue was that you were upset about. And if you write it down, it'll give, and then you tell your brain, okay, I'm not going to talk about this right this second because I don't think it will end well. But I have it written down, and it is something that we are going to talk about at some point if it's still relevant, right? So that will help your brain to say, okay, I don't need to go into full on rage monster right now because we are going to get this figured out. And the more positive experiences you have with actually being able to solve a problem together, the easier it will be for your brain to believe that, like, oh, we will figure this out. We will sort it out. Another thing you could do is you could write out a text, but then don't send it, right? There's a lot that you want to say. When your rage monster comes out, it's almost like a different version of you. It is like a different version of you. So you could think of it as like angry Jena and loving Jena. Those are two very different Jenas, and they have different mentalities, different states of mind. They have different opinions and different beliefs. Angry Jena believes things that loving Jena does not. So who am I going to give airtime to? It depends what I want out of my relationship, right? I'm going to end it there for now, but this is a super important topic. And if you have any questions about it, if you find that something works really well, please put it in the comments below. If you find that something doesn't work and you need another like tool for it, let me know. Could talk about this all day long. And I hope this was really helpful. I know how difficult the rage monster can be to tame. And I think learning how to ride that wave for someone who is fight first when you get triggered is a huge challenge, and also like a really important one to undertake. So I wish you the best of luck.